Hi, it's Don Southerton in your weekly episode of Everything Korea. This week is titled Global Mandates, Part 3, a Caveat. So this is actually the third in the series. There will actually be a fourth episode too coming up very soon. So with that, several years ago, as Korean brands like Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, and LG soared during the global recession, I coined the term K-lobalization, or globalization with a K for Korea. I saw this as a trend as Korean firms, instead of deferring to the local organization, to instead boldly promote their own unique management style and corporate culture internationally and across many markets. And I've talked about this over the years several times. Much of this shift is a result of the Korean brands succeeding when their rival Western and Japanese product brands suffered during that downturn. So, as I point out in Part 1 and Part 2 of this series on Korea-directed organization-wide corporate mandates, from core values to vision to management training directives, to most recently how they should even brand or target specific markets and consumers in local markets. So this is really the subject matter of this. So one caveat has been the rollback of locally assigned executive coordinators. Now these are the expats assigned to working in overseas subsidiaries. And their roles primarily is to serve as a liaison between the local operation and the Korean headquarters. What we're seeing now is we see teams in Korea also directly reaching out to local teams by video conference, email, and phone calls. In fact, 2 weeks ago when I was at one of my clients, there was local management was doing a big video conference with Korea, and it was the first time they were actually ever doing that. It was a direct, things. Now, the Korean teams and headquarters do this correspondence all the time, but this was actually Korean teams in Korea and the local non-Korean team in this big meeting. So there's some very positive sides to such requests, and they involve going directly to those engaged in the work, developing of long-term personal relationships with the teams in Korea, and nurturing as well as open communication, two-way communication is strengthened. So there's some very positive to this. Now, less constructive. In many cases, the Korean teams are unfamiliar with the nuances in local governance and the complexity of a project or services. In turn, these requests require the local teams to compile and research data and studies and reports. Their days are already stretched to the limits, and so this is really just sort of adding a layer on top of a layer. In fact, as of now in 2016, this has become one of the issues that I most frequently hear when dealing with my Korean-based clients. So what are the recommended workarounds? In Part 4, which will be the next series, next one of these coming out, next podcast, I will address what the workarounds can be. In the meantime, if you'd like to I'd like to solicit your input. So what situations are you encountering, and is there anything that I missed? So, for questions raised, Stacy, my personal assistant, can help coordinate us chatting either by email or by phone or meeting. So until next time, this is Don Southerton wishing you all the best.